Welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be an introduction about a new year-long series that's going to circle around me learning my 5th language. So the language that I'm going to be studying for an entire year is going to be Thai. My goal of the series is to get to an A2 level by the end of the year by only studying about 15 to 30 minutes a day. And I'm doing this because I want to be able to speak to my daughter who's half Thai and her mother, and I'm quickly realizing that I'm going to be the only one in the household who doesn't speak Thai to any degree. So I'm going to be spending the next year here getting to an A2 level, being a parent, being somebody who works multiple jobs, does social media. I just want to demonstrate and document how someone like you who might have a busy life as well has time to study and learn a new language. It doesn't have to be Thai, but if you want to learn how I'm learning Thai through this series, you're more than welcome to join me. Please like this video and subscribe. I'll go through a lot of these videos are going to be completely unedited or very lightly edited, nothing too exciting, because to be honest, language learning can be boring at times, and it's not the most exciting thing. There's not going to be any jump scares or anything in that nature, quick edits. But what this series will give you is a realistic approach to how to become conversational in a new language within a year. Even if you have a busy lifestyle, you don't have much time to commit, you're tired, and you just want to learn a new language, learn a new hobby. And I would love to support myself. If you know any people from Thailand or other native speakers, please share this video with them to provide more support for me and feedback in my videos. Over the course of the year, what you're going to primarily see is me going through 2 language textbook series and possibly some parts where I go and speak with my wife every once in a while when I learn something new, just to see if I'm saying it right for that instant feedback. But you're also going to see a lot of culture type things that in regards to Thailand, and work in real estate here in Boca Raton, Florida, a beautiful city, but it's only about 55 minutes away from Miami, where there's a strong Thai presence there. And I want to document and show a lot of that Thai culture within these videos as well. So the first book that I'm going to be using a lot in this video series is going to be the Assimil Thai. So there's a total of 99 lessons in here, and my goal for this is mainly going to be the audio. There's about over 2 hours of Thai only audio in this book, and if you didn't know, Thai is a tonal language, so when you finally hear me start speaking Thai, it's probably not going to be correct at this phase for the first, say, 3 months or so. A lot of my speaking may be completely off, but I'm going to be working on it. And Assimil will give me a lot of words in context and slowly introduce me to vocabulary and things I'll need to know much later. And it's going to take me probably the entire year to get through those 99 lessons. Yes, I probably get through a lesson or 2 a day, but the amount of times you have to repeat is going to be very important to actually master the content in the book. Assimil is not something where you follow the directions as it's given to you and you're instantly going to get it. Assimil, from my personal opinion, again, learning multiple languages, is that it takes a lot of repetition in Assimil to actually get everything to click. And a lot of my videos that are going to be coming out here shortly would be showing me going through Assimil, how I do it, and the techniques I use to actually master the content of the book itself. The second book series I'm going to be using is going to be the Thai for Beginners. Now, I'll just show you how bad I'm currently at Thai, because the only words I currently know is like Swati Krap and Kap Kung Krap, and that's it. That's pretty much all I know. But it's written by Benjawan Poomsan Becker. And the reason why I chose this book rather than, say, Teach Yourself or Colloquial Thai or any of these other ones is that those Teach Yourself's books are kind of geared towards a mass market, and they force the language into a certain segment where it's kind of very same through all the books, where this is a beginner's textbook for people in English learning Thai, geared mainly towards Thai. You're not going to see me too much in this book. It's going to be very brief. Most of my work, as I mentioned before, is going to be from the Assimil book. Yes, the Assimil book is in French, but luckily that's one of the languages I learned over 10 years ago now. So I can still read very, very well using the Assimil series and a lot of audio content and reading in French. But this book here is going to be something that's going to become very important towards the halfway mark, around 6 months. It's where this book is going to be a lot more important. And there's a part 2 to this book as well. I may or may not finish that within the first year. But this book is going to be more important as my Thai progression moves forward, just to kind of polish a few grammar aspects that I didn't get from the Assimil series. So a lot of the methods I'm going to be using in the series is going to include shadowing. So if you never learned a language before, I highly recommend this. One reason why one of the first languages I learned was Japanese is because they don't have that many sounds. And for somebody who has I don't want to say a speech impediment, but sometimes making sounds can be difficult for me. I found the shadowing method is basically like fake it until you make it, where you just mimic the sounds of the language until you just knock it down, where you just have repetition of saying certain phrases and words together, where it sounds much better. The intonation, the cadence, the pitch matches up very well, and it helps you become understood. And you're not over here just breaking up the words one by one. By the way, I absolutely hate flashcards or remembering vocabulary through just the words alone. I find, as being a successful language learner, those have never really helped. The best ways to learn vocabulary has to be in context, so you get the cadence of the speech. Just for like Japanese, for example, you're not going to say watashi no namaya wa. They kind of say things together like watashi no. Like, you wouldn't get that just by learning the individual words without the particles and everything together. And it's going to be like that for me with Thai. Really going to be focusing a lot on pronunciation and context to learn most of my vocabulary, to hopefully get it right around 1,500 to 2,000 words by end of the year. Again, as you notice what I said before about the actual learning grammatical style textbook, I'm not going to be really focusing on that until about 6 months in. So grammar and that type of syntax and everything is going to be passively learned through Assimil itself and not mainly through the textbooks. Another thing that's not going to be heavily focused on is going to be writing. So something I quickly realized about the Thai written language is that it's going to take time to learn it. Yes, it's important to be able to read in the native script, but what my goals are and how I see being able to read the Thai is that I won't know exactly how to say it and put the tones together perfectly. And this is what I learned before with a few other languages I learned, is that for me it's better to master the sound of the language before I master a different script to the language. But towards the end of my language learning, I do plan on being able to write and read in Thai very well. Thai is something that it doesn't have spaces in between the actual words. So if you don't know the words, it's a little bit harder to read because you don't know sometimes where things start and end. So that's what I heard from basic research. So you'll see a lot more of writing in Thai towards the end of this series. Also, to help me with Thai and learning words that aren't just in a textbook, I do plan on using a lot of social media, podcasts in Thai to pick up certain colloquial type sayings and things to say that may be more up to date, because a lot of textbooks, to be honest, are overly polite and people my age wouldn't be talking like that in their everyday life. And my goal is to become more conversational fluent in the language and not just sound like a textbook. And again, one of the most important things when learning a language is going to be being very consistent in your language learning. I know a lot of people, stuff comes up all the time and they have a reason to take a break. But if you're cooking, if you're on the bus, if you're traveling in the car, you can always start playing, say, the Thai audio just to get that experience, some type of reinforcement of the language every single day, and consistency is going to be key here in order for me to master this new language at my age now. So I'm, mid 30s. Learning languages is going to be much harder as you get older, so consistency is going to be a lot more important in order to be successful at this series. Another thing to remember is that through this series, you're really just going to see me using, as I said, social media, but it's mainly going to be the books I started with in the beginning. I feel like a lot of people get lost in the collection or the idea of learning a language, where they're like, oh, I need to buy this flashcard series, I need to buy this new textbook. But be quite honest, until you get through your first ones, I don't see the reason to buy more textbooks that are teaching you how to say hello, nice to meet you, how to count, the colors, and the same basic 500 words in these intro textbooks. Your goal is to get away from the training wheels on the bike and get into more stuff that's geared towards natives or young kids of the language. That's why, even kid series of the language itself can definitely help you a lot more than these textbooks. So definitely recommend, don't fall trap of buying all these random textbooks or programs online. Pick 2-3 things that you're going to focus on and get them good. It's much better to have a very sharp knife than it is to have all these dull knives that never get you to the point of mastery. Again, you're going to see a lot of regrouping, reflecting on my language learning here in the series. About every 1 to 3 months or so, I'm going to put a video discussing how I feel about the language, how's it coming along, what I need to work on, just so you get a general idea that even for somebody who's studied languages before, not everything is going to be perfect. It's definitely not going to be perfect in this series, but it's good to document your journey of where you're going, and so you can see the future by looking at the momentum from behind. Very end of this series, hopefully I can show you me going to these Thai temples here in South Florida and showing you that I'm able to interact, purchase things, talk about my day in Thai language strictly, and not be too much of a struggle for the native speaker. And that is the goal, being able to communicate very well in Thai and pass that down to my daughter and be able to talk to her in her mother's native language. It's going to be very important with me from the series, and that's how I'm going to reflect my success of this year coming up. So if you want to follow me on this journey, please like and subscribe this video. I plan on making videos. It may not be the most regular and routine series in the world, but my goal is to provide honest content about language learning itself, and hopefully you get to see of what it's like to actually learn a language to a conversational level and what's realistic and not just flashy, salesy type stuff that you see on a lot of other YouTube channels. So other than that, take care.